Welcome to the London Stone webinar on sealing natural stone. So thank you for your attendance this evening and sort of sparing your own time to be with us, because I know everyone's busy and obviously when you're out of work it's nice to have a relax. So thank you for joining. If you have any questions or queries, please sort of make a note with them and we'll provide a chance to answer them at the end. Or do feel free to write them in the chat bar as well, and we can make a note of those and come back to them. If everyone could just make sure they stay on mute for now, and we can get through the presentation, and then we'll have plenty of time to answer questions at the end. So my name's Chris Durnford. I'm the Customer Experience Director at London Stone, and I'm joined today by Gary Timpson, who is a Mirus owner, and he's our dry treat representative. So he'll be here to help with any sort of really technical questions or anything we get, or sort of any more experience that he can bring as well. So thank you, Gary, for joining us.
No problem.
So London Stone, I recommend that sawn stone is sealed, especially, but even riven stone can benefit from sealing. So no stone actually necessarily needs to be sealed. You can get any natural stone and not seal it, but there obviously are benefits to sealing the stone that we believe in. And you know, even a hard dense stone will still benefit from sealing, and it will still make it easier to clean. We find things, you know, in the showrooms when we speak to customers, you know, the demands on the stone are a lot higher than they used to be. You know, a lot more people are spending time in their gardens, having barbecues, you know, got pets outside on the stone. So I think that has sort of made sealing sort of more important, because you know, people are using it differently, and also the expectations of the stone performance are higher. You know, everyone wants to keep their stone as clean as possible. A lot of people want, you know, a contemporary garden style that, you know, looks pristine, unweathered, and we especially recommend it for sawn stone, because when you saw open the stone, the process of sawing it actually opens the pores up in the stone and makes it higher maintenance than you would get with a riven, sort of natural riven sandstone, for example. I think also now we're finding more and more porcelain on the market, so natural stone is competing against porcelain. So by sealing natural stone, you do make it easier to maintain. Sort of won't be as easy as a porcelain as such, but it does get it sort of closer to that sort of maintenance levels. So there is questions about whether porcelain should be sealed as well. We used to advise on not, because there wasn't a sealer on the market that would allow you to seal porcelain. The sealer would just sit on the surface, it would attract dirt, and it would actually make things worse. There is now a new sealer technology on the market from Dry Treat that we use that is specifically developed for low absorption rate surfaces such as porcelain. So again, it will help with the cleaning, and it is a permanent sort of solution for sealing porcelain. So we still find that many people don't choose to seal it. Obviously there is an extra cost there, but anyone concerned with the way the stone's looking, or you know, wanting to increase the ease of maintenance, really, it's an option there for them. So it can also assist when you're grouting the product, to remove the grout afterwards if it's been sealed, and removing that grout haze from the product. So it works by sealing the micropores in the porcelain at the top textured surface of the porcelain. And so yeah, it works really well, and you can get a 10-year warranty on that sealer as well. So there are two types of sealers on the market, generally speaking: topical sealers and impregnating sealers. Most people we find are using impregnating sealers now, but there are still the topical sealants on the market. As you can see there, we sort of listed some pros of the products on there. The topical sealer it is very cost effective, and it can give a really good immediate effect in terms of its impervious to liquid, so it sort of gives a really good protection effect initially, but it is more of a short-term solution, really. So there are problems with topical sealers, such as preventing moisture from escaping from the stone. You can sometimes get mold building up underneath the sealant as it's sort of a layer on top of the stone. You can trap efflorescence under that layer of sealants as well. Because it is that surface layer, it can also affect slip resistance and change the appearance of the stone. And you'll find that when you walk on that sealant, it will wear quickly under the traffic and also UV light from the sun. And if you need to redo it, you need to strip the sealant off and then reapply all the sealant. So there's quite a few cons to a topical sealant, we find. But a lot of people initially think it's great because it will give you that immediate sealed effect. With the impregnating sealers, there's a lot of benefits to it. It allows the stone to breathe. It doesn't block the pores of the stone. It's sealing on the particles of the stone, so leaves the pores open. You get moisture can escape as vapor, and the slip resistance and the appearance of the stone is not affected. With dry treat in particular as well, it forms a long-lasting permanent bond with the stone. There are other sort of impregnating sealants in the market that don't do that. You do have to reapply them after 4 or 5 years, depending on use. I guess one drawback from the product is it is quite an expensive product. There's no getting away from that, but it does last and it does the job very well. So that's what you do get with an impregnating sealer, and especially dry treat product. So this is a quick diagram sort of showing you a visual representation of how the sealer works. We would always recommend the dry treat as a product. We feel it's the best on the market. We have tested many products out before. We've used lithophene, LTP products. So we have sort of used all the different products. And we have also another product that we do sell from Lantania, which is a more cost-effective solution, but it's one of the impregnating sealers that won't last so long. So it depends on people's budgets and what they expect from the sealer. There are some different options out there, but especially with dry treat, you get a sealer that sort of impregnates into the stone by 4 to 6 mil, so it creates that good barrier against efflorescence coming up through the stone, and you can see that it will repel oil and water. So yeah, the key points about it is that it does penetrate deeply into the stone. It will retain the stone's natural surface and colour finish. It's very breathable. Cleaning with this product on, so it makes it easier to clean because the dirt isn't ingrained into the stone or hasn't been sucked into the stone by moisture or oil. But when you are cleaning it, the sealant isn't affected by cleaning. It will stand up to cleaners and pressure washing. And it can also have additional benefits like preventing the onset of algae. It will delay that. It won't stop it completely. Algae will even grow on glass if you allow it. So, but it will just make that, it will delay the onset of algae. And it can help prevent picture frame as well, which you can get. So it does give you many benefits. The use of it, you can use it indoor, outdoor, residential and commercial use. You can use it throughout. So this is just a quick picture of an untreated surface and a treated surface. It's not been cleaned for 3 years, so you can see the dirt build-up on the untreated side is a lot more than the untreated side. The treated side or sealed stone will still get dirty. It doesn't make it, the product doesn't make the stone impervious to dirt, or it still needs cleaning. So, but it's just a quick example there of how it can affect stone. So when it comes to sealing, we find there's 3 options of how to apply or when to apply it really. We offer a pre-sealing service at London Stone, so we will unpack the stone that we get from the suppliers. We will make sure it's dry and clean. We will then seal it in a controlled environment and then allow it to dry and then repack it before dispatch. So that service is normally on a 1 week or 2 week lead time, depending on how much stone is being ordered. At the moment we're going through quite a busy period, so a lot of it's 2 week lead time for that, but it is highly recommended to get it pre-sealed by us. So as I said, it's in a dry environment, controlled environment as well. It's not going to get wet or rained on after application. We are accredited application company, so we can also provide a warranty if requested, which on the dry treat is 15 years on the standard product. And the benefit of pre-sealing as well is that it will help keep the stone sort of clean during installation and pointing as well. It will make any spillages from mortar or pointing, it will make it easier to clean off. The second option, we would say, like, if you can do it, if you need to order the product yourself and apply it yourself, is to actually apply before installation on site. So if you've got like a covered area or, you know, a garage or something you can do that in, then that's ideal, because you do need to keep it dry for about 6 to 8 hours after sealant. If it gets wet in that time, the sealant could fail. So if you can do it, that's ideal, but you do need the space on site to do it. And whilst the application method isn't complex, you do need to follow it to the letter. You know, there's steps on there like wiping off excess sealant. If that's not done, then it can cause issues. So like I say, it's not hard to do, but you just need to follow instructions, you know, to the T, really. And again, you still get the benefit of helping keep the stone clean during installation as well. Now, if you can't do those options, or you haven't got the time or the space to do it, then of course you can seal after installation. Now, this is weather dependent. You know, at the moment it's nice and sunny where I am here, but it has been raining today. As we know, UK weather is quite unpredictable, so to fit it in sealing the stone after it's been installed, it can be difficult in the UK. If you do have to use this method as well, it's ideally to do it before pointing the stone. Again, then you'll get the benefit of being able to clean the pointing off a lot easier, and it will help prevent that picture framing effect that you could get when you point it. You're also able to walk on the product when you're sealing it. So as long as you've got protective shoes on, you can do that. So again, it's not a complex method, but whilst it's down, you just need to take a bit more care over it. Obviously, it can get dirtier easily than if you're doing it before you install it. So they're the sort of 3 options for installation of the sealant. But yeah, best to get it pre-sealed with us if you can, just because it is protected from the elements, really, and you know, it's hard to predict in the UK what's going to happen. And also, if anything, you've got any problems with the sealant, then you can come back to us, and also we can look at it for you. As you know, it's been done by us, and you know, in the right method. So we know sort of where the problems may lie if one does occur, for example. So just a quick overview of how it works. Obviously, this is quite an in-depth subject. It can get quite technical, so I try and keep it as simple as possible. If you don't understand it, again, we will raise the questions at the end of the presentation. So for dry treat itself, the molecules are 400 times smaller than like the nearest competitor, and it forms a permanent bond with the stone through a chemical reaction. So as you can see, the top image shows the green particles coating the particles of the stone. Whereas if you've got sealers with bigger particle sizes, they can't actually get into the pores of the stone, they actually end up blocking them. So you can see just a sort of bit of representation there of the sort of red particles there. It sort of gets into the pores a bit, but it ultimately blocks them. So if you haven't got a good impregnating sealer, you might get that as well. So again, just the benefits of it really does help reduce efflorescence, prevents freeze-thaw spalling as well, because it's protecting the stone from water ingress, and again it will help reduce algae growth there. So you'll find, because of the particle size, it does impregnate deeper than other stones, so than other sealants, and because of that depth of sealant, it helps keep efflorescence below the surface. So if you only had like a surface sealant or a impregnating sealant over only a millimetre or 2 into the surface, then the efflorescence can still raise towards near to the surface and could be visible. So if it's a deeper sealant, then you keep the efflorescence well away from the surface, which is very beneficial. So these are some of the sealing rates for different stones. So we're talking about a litre here. So on a Portland limestone, for example, it's very porous product. So you're looking at 5 square meters for each litre of sealant. Sandstone, sawn sandstone tends to be 6 square meters, limestone 7, granite's a bit better at 8, and then slate, obviously it's not very porous at all, slate, so it's about 12 square meters. Now these figures are for 2 coats of the product, which is the recommended application of the product, is the 2 coats. And the porcelain there, because it's obviously a very low porosity product, you get 30 to 40 meters per litre, so it's pretty economical for the porcelain side of things. So I've got a few common questions here that get asked, and I'm sure there will be some more at the end as well. But you know, we often get questions from customers. You know, will my stone still get dirty? You know, it's sealed, or you know, they'll have a stone pre-sealed, it be installed, and then a week later it's had a bit of leaf drop, a bit of rain, and you get this sort of effect. This is leaf marks on our showroom stone. So yes, your stone will still get dirty. It is outside at the end of the day. It will still need maintenance and cleaning, even if it is sealed. It will just make it a lot easier, and it won't mean there's any permanent marking, basically. So just some examples here. Natural slate on the left hand side, that is actually not sealed, but it's still showing leaf marks. Even on a dark dense product, you'll still see leaf marks. We've got sealed sawn sandstone in the middle. That is our most popular beige sandstone. And it does mark quite easily, and you can see those leaf marks there. They actually look like rust. It's the tannins in the leaf that has rotted out of the leaf and marked the stone. Now, we don't clean the stone a lot in the showroom, and after a week or two, that's normally weathered off with, you know, rain and sun, people walking on it. But you can, of course, clean it to get it off quicker. And then we also have a picture of porcelain on the right-hand side here, which, again, even though porcelain is a very, very low maintenance product, it will still get dirty, it still needs cleaning. So yeah, it's just a demonstration of those different products, and also in the middle, even if it's sealed, you'll still get marks on it. You know, the external stones do have slip ratings to be used outside, so with that extra grip they can attract some dirt, and they sort of sit in the top pores of the stone. So that's where a topical sealer will look great, because it's effectively created a barrier on the top. It will stop the marking straight away, but obviously with all those sort of not so good properties of a topical sealant, it's not so good overall. So you know, it's good to make customers understand that with an impregnating sealer, the top surface is still open to the elements. The sealer is underneath and it's impregnated into the stone. But if you looked under a stone under a microscope, for example, it will look like a sponge. It will have holes in it, different sizes, and the stone, the dirt can really sit in those pores of the stone. And actually, sometimes if people are worried about the odd mark that occurs when the stone's new, you know, it's really obvious. It's a bright new stone. It's also not had any weathering at all, so it's very abrasive when it's brand new. It's not been walked on. You will get marks on it. You know, with this light sandstone here, you will get foxes or cats walking on it. They'll leave footprints. That footprint will be dirt in the top pores of the stone, and you know, to get rid of that, you'll need to clean it, and sometimes with chemicals. But the important thing is it can come off. And actually, with a natural stone, sometimes it's good to actually not overly clean it to start with. Leave it for 4 to 6 months. Let it weather in. You know, some of the pores become a bit blocked with dirt and things. It actually becomes easier to maintain over time. We often get this with beige sawn sandstone. Actually, the one on the picture is, you know, oh, it's not fit for purpose. It's outside. It's very light in color, but it will weather. It will get easier to maintain over time. And again, that's sometimes a bit of a misunderstanding with people. When it's sealed, they think it won't mark at all and it will never need cleaning, but whereas actually it will do. So obviously, people sometimes are keen to clean the stone. Get my words out. And they want to obviously get the jet wash out. It's just been installed. You've got some muddy footprints from maybe a bit of planting. But actually, if it's a sealed product with dry treat, you need to wait 4 weeks before jet washing after it's been sealed. So although the product is okay to get wet after 6 to 8 hours, it actually still migrates through the stone and deeper into the stone for about 4 weeks. If you jet wash it within that time and force water in at high pressure, it can actually affect the sealant and maybe stop it from working. So it's very important not to jet wash within the first 4 weeks of it being sealed. Another point about jet washing as well, it can damage natural stone. So you do have to be careful with it. It's good to use the fantail setting on the jet wash. And also, you know, keep a nice distance away from the stone. You don't want to be getting too close to it, because with natural stones, you can actually etch the stone with the jet wash. So it's very important to be careful with that. And also, if the surface of the stone does become damaged, it could compromise the sealant as well, because that is, you know, compromising the stone and the sealant that's in that stone. So another question we often get asked as well, or see on social forums and things, is, do I need to seal all sides of the stone? So you should actually only seal the top surface. There's no need to seal the sides or the bottom, because the sealant penetrates into the stone 4 to 6 mil. You will get that protection from the top surface, and also into the sides of the stone at the top. And the most important thing to remember is, if you do seal the bottom of the stone, obviously the very nature of the sealant is to repel oil and water. Now, for cement mortar bed to bond with the stone, it needs to be drawn into the stone, sucked into the stone. If it is sealed, that will not happen, and you might have stone failing on you because it will become dislodged from the mortar bed underneath. What we're finding more and more now is a lot of people use SBR slurries on the bottom, which do effectively increase the adhesion of the stone and sort of create a sealing effect anyway, to stop moisture and efflorescence and things coming up through the base. So it's often recommended now to use an SBR slurry on the bottom as well, but for sealant wise, it's just the top surface. So we sort of briefly touched on maintenance and cleaning. So obviously anything outdoors will need cleaning, even sealed stone and porcelain, and just be careful with the jet wash, basically. Now, when you're cleaning, jet wash is a physical cleaning action. When you wash your car or wash your hair, you don't just use water, you will use a chemical when you do that. I see Paul touching his head there. When you are cleaning the product, a jet wash will do a good job generally, but you will often need a chemical to break down the dirt first, and then the jet wash is the physical washing away action. So you also need an appropriate cleaning product for the dirt that's on the stone. So something for organic matter, for example, will maybe not clean rust marks off. So there isn't a sort of one size fits all cleaner. It's good to know what the mark is or what's caused it, so then use the appropriate cleaner to clean that off. So a couple of cleaners here that we sell, again from Dry Treat. There's an acidic cleaner. It used to be called Efferaser, changed its name very recently. That is great for efflorescence removal, and any acid marks, any iron marks, the acid will remove that as well. So if you've got rust, natural rust from the stone, or rust from where someone's cut an iron railing or something on the stone, that often I see, then that will remove that. We have alkaline cleaner in the middle. That's like a powder. It used to be called Oxy Cleanser. You would mix that with like a warm water to create a solution, and that's very good for organic matter, sort of mold, algae, black spot it can work on. And you can also mix it up to like a paste as well, to use it as a poultice to draw any ingrained marks from this out of the stone as well. Finally, we've got stone and masonry cleaner, peroxide cleaner. That is a good general purpose cleaner. It will get rid of a lot of things like leaf marks, organic marks as well. So yeah, a very good all-round cleaner there. Sometimes as well, when you're cleaning, you may need to do several repeat cleans on it to get it really clean. Obviously, it depends on how bad the dirt is, but it may not be clean after one go. You might need to give it a few cleans. So just a few examples of the alkaline cleaner here. So it's sort of a bit of a moldy algae, sort of a bit of a shady area, so it's being cleaned off with that product. And this is a stone and masonry cleaner, just a bit of a general clean on these steps. Again, a bit of algae, bit of dirt maybe from the surrounding beds, and it's had a really good effect on that product. And then this is the acidic cleaner. So this is a bit of rust. It looks like someone's left like a planter or something on there, or maybe a trough planter that we can see in the image, and it is cleaned that off. You can see there's a bit of residue left still in that clean picture, so it might need another going over to get rid of that. I think the important thing as well to remember with cleaners is always reading the instructions, testing the product first, especially if it's acidic. But having said that, if you get a strong alkaline cleaner, that can be corrosive, just like an acid can as well. So it's very important to know what you're using. A lot of people may have a bit of brick acid in the van or something. If you use that on a natural stone, you're looking for problems. If you use it on either grey sandstones, you're likely to bring iron out of the stone. It will turn it brown. If you use it on a limestone, of course, it's going to etch the limestone and damage it. So there are specific cleaners on the market, such as this acidic cleaner. It's a bit more friendly to natural stone than, say, the brick acid is, which is hydrochloric acid. But you still need to be careful when using it, especially you don't really want to use it on limestone. So that's why with the limestone, you've got to be very careful when you're grouting or when you're laying it, not to get mortar on it. Also, you normally use acid to get rid of cement stains, and if you use that on limestone, it's going to very possibly damage it. And it's a good idea to test these products first before using, and just really using like an acidic product, dilute it right down first, and then build up the strength of an acid cleaner before you actually clean the stone. You know, because you might find that you can do it half strength and it will still get the job done rather than use it full strength. So that is the end of the presentation, the slides. So we'll basically open it up for questions and a bit of discussion. We've got Gary here as well for any more technical questions that are needed. So yeah, Anthony, I don't know if there's any questions being written in the chat window.
Gillian Sandham has literally just sent one through.
Okay.
So we might as well kick off with that one because it's here. She said, Chris, what effect do the products have on planting / surrounding lawn? And this is something we get asked quite a lot, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
certainly with cleaners as well. I know sealing might be a bit different because it should stick on the stone, but yeah, with the cleaners perhaps.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it depends what you have, because some cleaners are quite strong alkaline, which are good for cleaning off organic matter. And obviously that cleaning effect, if you put that on a plant, then it's gonna have, you know, some bad effects. So obviously you don't want to put anything directly on plants. You want to try and wash the product into drainage. If you do need to wash off into beds, then just make sure it's really well diluted when you wash it off. Sometimes you have to do that. I know it's very difficult. You're not always going to have a drain nearby. But yeah, as long as you're very careful, try to wash most of it away from plants and bedding. But if you do have to, then just make sure it's very well diluted with water.
Duncan has asked about what's the best product to clean. Gillian says thanks. Duncan's asked what's the best product to clean black limestone prior to sealing on site.
Is this a general clean or?
Yeah, I'm guessing. I'm thinking, Duncan, correct me if I'm wrong, and you can unmute yourself if you want to speak. But I'm thinking it would be installed and then sealed, so a clean after installation, I would have thought, and then sealing. I
think probably the SMC tech, Gary. You might want to jump in here as well with a bit more technical knowledge on all the cleaners, but.
If it's like the candle of the Indian limestone that you see out there that people call midnight black or whatever they call it.
Yeah, that's what we're talking here.
Yeah, well, if you're going to intensify it, you can, if you know what you're doing. And anyone at the end of this, if anyone wants my number, Chris or Anthony will give you my number. And I talk to anyone. It's free to talk on the phone. I don't charge you anything to do anything like that. You can use F-Eraser to clean cement residue off a limestone, depending on what you're going to do and how you use it. You need to know what you're doing, and I would always advise somebody to go and do it on a trial piece first. There are other limestones, black limestones out there that you've got that are stronger and more robust, and will stand a lot more aggressive cleaning than the Indian one, because it tends to be a dark grey to start with and then gets lighter. If you're going to intensify it, you can do a lot more when you're trying to clean it. If you've got cement residue on it, you need a thing called an emulsifying pad, which is a tiler's Brillo pad. As people are fitting porcelain more, I would recommend that you carry these in the back of your vans all the time. You get different colour grades. It's a standard stone restorers tool. They have it on a pad, big pads normally, but a tiler will have it on a little handle thing. And you get it in different colours, which it's quite abrasive and such forth for cleaning up. That with a watered down solution, and you should be able to clean it all off, unless you've really made a mess. I've seen some hideous ones where we've had to go in, acid wash the whole floor, neutralise it, and then intensify it afterwards. It's recoverable. I mean, there are some horrendous ones out there that people have ruined or think they've ruined, and you can rectify them. You just need to know what you're doing and to take it carefully. Acid per se is not bad for stone. You pay a lot of money to get an acid etched kitchen top. If you go to Pizza Express, all the tables that you get in there, the white Carrara is acid etched because it doesn't show the red wine staining. So they've actually etched it first, so it doesn't show the staining as much. I wouldn't recommend it for the external landscaping, but what I'm explaining is that not all acid is bad. It's how you use it and what you're using, as Chris alluded to. Certain types of acid are extremely dangerous and shouldn't be anywhere near it. Brick acid shouldn't be allowed on a site unless you're doing brick cleaning. It will ruin everything. It's far too aggressive from there. So just to recap, emulsifying pads, bit of F-Razor, test it on a piece to see what you're doing, the ratio you want. It comes in at a 50-50, 50% active ingredient in the bottle to start with. You water it down and you may go to even a 20-in-1 to get it off. It's a bit of an oxymoron, but we call it a safe acid. It's got an inhibitor in it that you can actually, one of the things when I do a demonstration is I pour it on my hand. I'm not recommending you do this, but it's just to show it actually will not start burning for about 3 to 5 minutes. It's got an inhibitor in it. It's a different type of acid, and it doesn't fume like some of the others. So it's a lot safer to use. But as I say, anyone wants any advice independently and such forth, I'm quite happy to speak to them afterwards. Hope that was enough.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
So, well, by the way, if you keep asking me questions.
And just to reiterate, I don't know if Chris said this or not actually at the start, but we're recording this
No, I didn't.
meeting, and we'll make it available on the This Is London Stone Facebook group. So yeah, if you want to recap anything.
Do you want me to go through the ones that are up there? Or are you happy, or do you want to do it, Chris? How do you want to do it?
What's that? Sorry, I actually can't see the questions on my screen,
well,
so.
The next one I think was from Jason.
Yeah, it's Jason, Gary. Yeah.
How would you recommend the sealer is applied for riven sandstone slabs? If you can, I would recommend spraying all the time. Now, there was Gillian asked earlier about plants and things like that. If you're going up to a border or something like that, I would recommend cardboard cut and held so that you avoid any overspray. Spraying gives you an even coverage. You can work out the ratio you want, and you get a better coverage on the stone, and you use less in your own right, but you can see where you've been. If you're painting a wall or rollering a wall and such forth, you start off with a vast amount in the middle, and then you're trying to work it out. You use more product and you don't get an even coating. It doesn't matter with paint, because in the end of it, one part may have 4 coats on it and the rest may have 2, and it looks pretty similar. With a sealer, you're trying not to waste your money, so I would spray if you can.
So that's with a low pressure sort of pump spray, isn't it? Low
pressure spray. You can buy them from Screwfix, Wicks, B&Q. They're £10-15. Yeah. You London Stone. if you're looking at the better ones, the ones they showed in their photos were IK. IK do special seals because the active ingredients in the sealer will rot the rubber, so you're throwing it away after one. If you're doing more, IK sealer that they had in the demonstration is the one that recommends. You get a good year plus out of that.
Okay.
Part of the bit that Chris said earlier on is the benefit of stain proof over other sealers is it's permanent, right? The weakness of dry treat stain proof over other sealants is it's permanent. Okay, so it's a double-edged sword. If you do it right, and it's very, very easy to do right, it's fantastic. If you do it wrong, it's still permanent. And spraying it on and putting it on is very, very easy. As Chris said, you can walk on it while you're doing it and such forth. You just need, if there's a footprint there, just spray a little bit down, more down, and rub it. The rubbing off is the most important thing you'll do. At the end of that job, it should be perfectly clean and dry, and you should be able to get a white shirt out and rub it on the floor and get nothing on. It's that work ethic of wanting to make it clean is where people sometimes let themselves down. They think, well, that's enough. It's not necessarily the professional. It's when the DIYer tries it. They think, well, that's good enough, and they walk away, or they've paid a lot of money for something and there was still some product left on the surface, and they think, well, I'll wait for it to go in. The instructions are quite clear. 10 to 15 minutes first coat, wet on wet, 10 to 15 minutes second coat, remove all excess. In a sealer, you have two products in there. You have the active ingredient and you have a carrier. So the active ingredient in stain proof is 50%, which is phenomenal when it's compared to others. I'm literally massive compared to some of what the other people have as the active ingredient, which is one of the reasons why it's far more expensive than LTP, for instance, which most of these sealers have got somewhere between 3% and 18% at the top of the range. I can't think of anything else above 18. I'm not saying there isn't, but I can't think off the top of my head. The well-known brands tend to be 3 to 10%. Is that enough on that bit?
I think
Somebody
so,
needs to tell me to shut up, because I won't.
I mean, if anyone needs sort of guidance on how to apply the product, we have all the guides. They can be downloaded from our website, and we can, of course, send them out. If someone's buying sealant from us, we will always send the guide with it as well, which has got step-by-step instructions on how to do it. But we can always provide sort of further instruction on that if needed as well.
Right, Duncan said, that's really interesting, Gary. Can that info be given to us, please? Well, if you, Anthony, takes all the
we'll follow that up. No problem. We get the recording and we get a chat transcript. So any requests, put them in the chat as well. We'll follow up. Don't worry.
Okay, Bignall. I've seen issues with staining from mortar on picture framing. Basically, by the look of it, what he's referring to is where it's you've got a picture frame around it where the mortar has bled into the side. I'm assuming mortar and bedding mortar. Well, it depends on what you're using and what sealer you've used. Not all sealers are equal. Not all sealers penetrate as deep, and not all pointing materials are equal as well. So the sealer can only do a certain job. It will make things easier to clean and will stop the traits that Chris was on about, salt attack and such forth and everything like that. It is not going to stop bad work ethics as such forth. So if somebody doesn't clean off properly or doesn't seal properly, it will stain. If you're using a resin base and you don't clean off it, it's not a resin blocker. There isn't. It doesn't block resins, and the sealers don't block resins. If you don't use your resin properly and keep it wet enough and such forth, it will bleed into the side. And that's what capillary reaction is sucking the resin in, where a sealer's trying to stop that. If you've used a sealer that's just sitting on the surface more, it's still going to get sucked into the side and cause you problems, and it's underneath the sealer that's there. The acrylic primer sealers that Chris referred to start with, they can also cause problems, that they create a barrier on the surface that actually sucks moisture up. So if you've got efflorescence in the stone or in the bedding and such forth, it can be sucked up by the sealer you're using as well and make it worse. The old saying was leave it 6 months. That's correct if you're using a certain type of sealer. You can seal, if you laid a patio today and it's all nice and dry, you can seal it tomorrow with dry treat and you haven't got a problem. It depends on the product and such forth and everything like that. So it's not one answer to a question like that. It depends on variations, but as I say, I can point you in the right direction, what to do or not to do independently, even on specific jobs. Somebody just ring me, providing I'm not on the golf course, I'm quite happy to take your calls and help you out. Hope that helped you. Next one, what's your recommendation for sealing of grouts? If you're talking grouts as in porcelain and such forth, everything like that, it's not going to hurt at all. It will take it in. There's no need to do it in such forth. Would I do it? Probably, because you're using a lot of fancy colours now and it'll make it easier to clean. You can be more aggressive with it. The dry treat, when it's clean, when it's dry, will actually it'll take a 180-degree doff cleaner. It'll take jet washing. It'll take bleaching. There's not a chemical and such forth when it's done that will actually strip it down. It's in the stone for life. That's it, really. So it's going to be the product you're using. If you're using one of the water permeable grouts, no need at all. If it's sand and cement, yes, you can do that because it wouldn't hurt it at all. As far as we're also degrade over time, how quickly does the benefit diminish and how do you have to? Okay, no, that's not true. Everything I can say can be backed up by an independent lab test on the Dry Treat website from it. Dry Treat lab test against the #1 marketing brand in Europe, #1 marketing brand in America, and they did 50 bleach wash tests, which is a way of seeing how it performs after a period of time, and it never went. Category 5 was the highest and it never left there. It physically becomes part of the stone after it's cured, so it doesn't degrade. There are projects. Sydney Opera House was done over 20 odd years ago and it's still the same. There are projects out there over 20 years that have never had it reapplied. The chemical comes from based on concrete sealing for wharfs and such forth like that, and it's an industrial process that's just been adapted into residential retail. If you're using one of the other types of products, because we sell other products as well, and Chris said as well, then yes, that will depend on how you're cleaning it. If you're using a jet wash, if you're using aggressive chemicals and things like that, it could be somewhere between 3 months and 5 years, depending on where it is and how you've treated it. Hopefully that's enough on that one.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah. When do you recommend use of a sealer impregnator? Is it only for stone that doesn't naturally have a low water absorption, will therefore not really be ideal for use untreated as a landscaping product? I deal with a few quarries in Europe and in the UK, and you can seal. Does it hurt to seal stone? No. Do you need to seal stone? No. It's a natural product. It's been there forever. Hasn't had to be sealed. It depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for the rustic rural look that isn't around too much at the moment, where you've got, you know, the old English garden where you've got the mold and everything drying and you want that patina, then don't seal it. If you're looking to try and keep it as clean as possible, be able to clean it, then seal it, no matter what it is. People think granite isn't porous. Granite is extremely porous. Just because something is dense or heavy doesn't mean it's not porous. We work in the fabricator industry as well with worktops and such forth, and we seal quartz worktops, dense granite. There's different products for different things. We have another chemical that actually will improve the strength of the stone. We sell to certain quarries that will improve the strength 30 to 40%. It creates a matrix inside and bonds them together, and that's a water sealer as well. So
I think also that, like we sort of on the slide sort of briefly touched on, depends on the use of the stone, but if you've got a north facing garden, maybe a small, you know, London garden with high walls, you're going to have not much sun on it. You know, those sort of environments, you know, mean that actually if you seal it, it will improve the way you use the stone and how you can maintain it. Because if you left a stone unsealed, like a sawn, very light coloured sandstone in a damp, shady area, it will go green quite quickly. So obviously the demand on the stone is quite high there because of the environment. So sealing in that sort of environment would be very beneficial. The same as if you know, got lots of pets, or you have a dining area or barbecue area, you know, that's putting a higher demand on the stone. So sealing will benefit that. And if you're using a stone for the driveway as well, we would recommend any stone on a driveway is sealed, because obviously the demands on a driveway is quite a lot. You've got tire marks, you've got possible oil marks, and also when you're using cleaning products for your car, that could affect the stone as well. So sealing would help in that scenario. So there are certain scenarios where you would say that if that was in a bright sunny position, you could perhaps not seal the stone, but in these scenarios you'd want to do it. So that's particularly on the riven sandstones where you wouldn't perhaps normally seal those, but in those scenarios you might want to. But with light coloured porous sandstones, and we highly recommend sealing, because we know the expectations of clients, and you know, they want to keep it as clean as possible, and that will only help do that.
There's the last two, I think, or these two here are for you, Chris, really, and you, Anthony. Last one from me, sorry, from S. Bignell again. Why can't you offer a warranty on your natural stone without a sealant? I don't know if you do or don't.
We don't. We do on the porcelain because it is a man-made product, and we're confident on obviously the technical properties of that is always made the same way. Natural stone, we don't have, say, like an installer's register where we know who's installed it, and then you could perhaps give a warranty because you know it's been installed in a certain way. So we don't have an official warranty on our natural stone, no. But one thing I will say, that London Stone always stand behind the product. If something goes wrong with the product and we know it's due to a poor product supplied, or you know, there's a natural fissure in that stone and actually over time it's gone, then we will support the product and we will also help our clients out with that. So yeah, obviously we want every client to be happy with the stone. So if there is a problem with it, we'll visit site, we'll you know, take a view on it. Obviously we do have installation methods that we like to be followed. If those aren't followed, then it can cause other problems. So as long as the installation method that we send out with all our orders is followed, then we will always provide backup for the stone and support for it if there's any issue.
The next one is from, oh, excuse me, I've got pop-up come up. John Bates, is there a general percentage uplift for supply of pre-sealed versus unsealed, or does it vary depending on the stone? I'm not quite sure what he means by uplift. Does he mean the monetary sum?
Well, I think, well, as there is a cost to sealing the stone. So the retail cost of sealing a stone is around 14.33 a metre, I believe, plus the VAT. So that is the cost per metre. Sort of, it doesn't matter what stone it's on. That is the cost of to pre-seal the stone. So I hope that does answer that question.
I think as well on that, there is, you know, there is an argument to be said. If your stone is £20 a metre, £23 a metre, adding 15 on top of that is a huge percentage increase in the cost of that stone. Obviously, there's an expectation as a customer in the showroom. You know, we try and manage those expectations. You know, Chris has touched on a bit of this earlier, but I used to manage one of our showrooms, and you know, when you're talking about sawn stone, light material that does mark easily, Chris has shown some examples in the presentation. We thoroughly and highly recommend that stone. Everyone in the sales team would tell you the same thing. We believe in the product. It's not a case of it's not a cheap upsell for us. No one's commission based on it or anything like that. We believe in the product because we know it works and it will last the test of time. So there are certain products where, you know, the Bayesian Harvest, for example, to the sawn stones, we highly recommend sealing. I've had customers say, you know, that have had Durabeige limestone, and he said, I had it down 8 years, wasn't sealed, and I've never had a problem with it. You know, but again, it's all dependent on environment and usage and things like that. So yeah, we certainly believe in the product. Every single member of the team does, because you know, in the showrooms we seal the sawn stone that goes down with dry treat, and we see the job it does. We don't seal the riven stone, so we're on the same page as our customers essentially with that.
I think actually one thing I've thought about as you're speaking about sealing the stones and things, that when a point that was often missed by some people, I think, is that when you first get the stone on site after it's been sealed, if you get water on the stone, it will bead off the stone, sort of like a waxed car. Now that only lasts a few days normally, because it's basically there's the layer of the carrier for the sealant left on the surface of the stone while the rest of the sealant has soaked into the stone, and that gives that sort of very water repellent effect on the surface, but that will wear off over time. And a lot of people think that the sealant stopped working, but actually it will still be working, and you'll find that the water sort of pools instead. You'll see like some water tension on the surface, and you'll find that it won't soak into the stone like you would say see on ink on blotting paper. You won't get that effect, but you'll get more of a pooling effect, which, you know, you can still see that the sealant's working. So it's just a little point I thought of just there.
Yeah.
To help.
Chris is quite right there. The globules you get on the surface and such, or the surface tension created, a lot of people know about that, such as everything. It's the actual depth of penetration that's going to be the benefit. It's going to stop things coming from underneath, and it's going to stop things penetrating down, meaning you can clean it. It doesn't mean you won't have to clean it. One of the bits Chris mentioned foxes and things like that. With the new sandstone, when it's laid, even though it feels smooth, it's not. It's got a texture to it, which wears over a period of a month to 3 months kind of thing. And people will moan about the fox print to start with and such. Well, they've disappeared after 3 months because you've taken that surface down a little bit. It's like a nail file. You've just rubbed it down. It's still there, but it's not as coarse as it was before. Cleaning is probably the one thing where I think people go wrong. In the images that Chris showed, I was glad to see that they were jet washing on fan. A jet wash is not a cleaning tool. It shouldn't be used as a cleaning tool. It's a facilitator. You should be using the right chemical to break the grime down or whatever it is and such forth, and then removing it with a jet wash, not actually cleaning it with a jet wash. I use the thing cleaning your car. You can't clean your car with a jet wash. You clean it with a bucket and sponge, and then you remove it with a jet wash. You don't. If you just get a jet wash on it, you'll strip the paint, and you'll just have streaks all over the car. That's what happens. A jet wash is a facilitator, not an actual cleaning implement, even though most people tend to get it on 100 psi, aim it at the stone, put it on needle and try and blast the grime out of it. There's chemicals that I can send videos to people or show people before and after projects that have minimal jet washing done to them. It just literally has, you could have thrown a bucket of water over some of them just to remove the grime after the chemicals done the work. Doesn't harm the stone then. Referring back to the lady that asked, I think it was the lady that asked about the chemicals, the alkaline cleaner oxy cleanser is pH 7 to 9, and then you're mixing it with water as well, so it's getting diluted there. The stone and masonry cleaner, which is the SMC peroxide cleaner, is a pH of 7. You're then washing down with water, so it's neutralized to start with. From there, the F-eraser, you would never use it neat, you'd be watering it down, and I would always suggest to someone to neutralize it, copious amounts of water or a mixture of the alkaline down to neutralize it as well. Avoid getting into beds if possible or onto grass, because you may damage the edge to start with, but they will grow back if you've used water to neutralize it or a chemical to neutralize it. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you, Gary.
Anything else? I'm surprised it wasn't more on porcelain, because porcelain seems to have be the one about cleaning and such forth and everything like that. Was there any questions on that at all?
I don't think there is. No, I mean, like Anthony said, we'll post this on the London Stone Facebook group, so obviously we can make comments on there with questions on the presentation, or obviously make contact with us, and we can answer any further questions. Okay, Anthony, you think we?
Yeah, if everyone's happy, you know, speak now or forever hold your peace. Really, as we say, we've got your details and everything. So thank you very much for spending an hour or so with us talking about sealing.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gary, for your attendance as well, and answering those technical questions. Yeah, and thank you, everyone, for your time in your evenings. I know it's precious time. And everyone's busy during the day, so you like to have a rest. So thanks for your attendance. I hope it was informative, and you know, like we said, we're here to help if you need to. You sort of know how to get in contact with us. So thank you.
Okay, as I say, anyone wants to speak to me, Chris or Anthony, will pass you.
Yeah, we can put Gary in touch with people, and yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye. Now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.